Welcome, everyone, to a Mike and the Minifans special, spectacular episode. This is, if you were within a 5-mile radius of Westfield State University between late 2012 and early 2003, and you were ever tuned into 89.5 WSKB, you've been clamoring for this day for 7 years now. A reunion so massive that only a Saturday night in the middle of the summer could contain it. And we're going to get to that in a second. But first, I want to address a couple things, little in-house maintenance here, some in-house items to take care of. First of all, I don't know what's going on with Brandon Walker. He flipped out on us on Twitter the other day. He was very upset. I guess him and Steve talked, and he took the very brave tactic of saying, "Hey, Steve's a great guy, but Mike's a loser, right?" And all the Minifans, it's a perfect way to win over the Minifans because everyone's immediately like, yeah, we fucking hate him too. So good strategy by Brandon Walker, although I'll admit nothing to do with the issue. The issue has nothing to do with me. It's that we disagreed. So I could be a talentless cunt, but that doesn't make me any more wrong or right in the situation. But I do think that we'll figure out a time to do it. The only thing I had an issue with is he kind of made it seem like I didn't message him or didn't contact him, but I did message him twice. I messaged Big Cat to try and clear that up as well. So hopefully we get to the bottom of that eventually, and we're able to do something with Brandon Walker in the near future. And he's really battling with the Minifans. Interesting strategy. He was responding to a lot of people, which that's not always the way you see it go in these. Usually they run and hide. So good for Brandon for at least sticking to his guns. I do think he's wrong. And it seems like he kind of thinks he's wrong, but doesn't want to admit that all the criticisms are wrong. Like he kind of thinks he threw out a joke when everyone that heard it kind of acknowledged, no, it wasn't a joke. He was floundering. He threw out a shitty comment, and he's not really owning it, but I think Brandon overall is a good guy. I don't think this is going to be an enemy forever, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm usually wrong on these things, so that probably means Brandon Walker will go the way of K. Marco. But he seems like an all right guy that just did a real dumb fucking thing. I don't know why. Well, I'm not going to pontificate again. The next time we'll talk about it is with Brandon or with Kirk or whatever we all figure out. But there's more important stuff at play here. Owls across the nation are clamoring for this. Everyone's very excited. I wanted to play the Dirty Mike and the Boys intro for this. I think with the new rules, we'd get fucking bounced from YouTube. So I'm sorry that I can't get your juices flowing too early. But get ready, folks, because Dirty Mike and the Boys are here to play. Bring them on, Will. Thank you to Will, by the way, for filling in these trying times. Justin was not around. Will doing an excellent job. And here are the boys. We've got DJ, Mike, and, of course, the Warthog. How are you, fellas?
Hey, good. Doing well.
What's going on, boys? I guess I got to start with the Warthog because he has some grievances to answer for. The last anyone heard from you, my good friend, was you helped me out in a way, but you kind of threw Steve under the bus with the stuff at soccer. You alerted me to the fact that there was a prank of sorts being played on me. How do you address these claims?
I admit that was what happened, but I'm not going to let you get thrown under the bus for what was a real,
what the fuck is happening?
Real life, I guess would be the way to describe it.
Go ahead with this, a very articulate defense of yourself, please.
Yeah. It was mostly just after the way Saturday played out. I didn't want to.
Good God, what's happening?
Used on Sunday.
Finish your thought. What is going on?
I'm getting sidetracked by TJ here. This is also
one of the brightest minds.
Yeah. Basically, I didn't want to see you
Jesus Christ. All right.
You don't want to see him die? They have people there for that very reason. Happened? They're called lifeguards.
Not to jump in, but what happened?
Thank you, DJ. I'm glad DJ was able to articulate it in a few seconds when he was not there and doesn't even really know what happened. Mike, I'll explain it to you. At the Saco show, there's a water park across the street, Aquaboggin, and
of course,
we were going to go there to film something one of the days we were up in Maine, and the plan was, I thought we were going to make a video of Mike's big day at the water park. I guess when I say it like that, I don't know why I believed it, but I thought that was going to be the case. And the real plan was that they were going to basically just take my shit and film me from a distance, wondering where the fuck my clothes and wallet and everything was.
Yeah.
So Chris spoiled that. He figured... if I can speak for him, because he can't do it, obviously. He figured I had a bad night Saturday night. He was going to help me out and alert me to that. But do you regret that, or do you stand by it?
No, because as was put on that Sunday show, good friend, terrible Minifan. Frankly, I'd rather be a good friend.
But isn't being a good friend when you're denying all of us the good humor?
It's a good point, DJ.
No. Better... It's like one guilty man should go free than 1,000 innocents suffer.
This man was on my radio show, by the way. This man was not only on Dirty Mike and the Boys, but an integral part. He had to produce the show every week. It's amazing that we ever got on air. But it's also something.
Fastest buttons in the West.
It's something that I think about a lot now. Because Justin, I will criticize on air sometimes for being very almost dismissive of me or disrespectful. At least I feel like it. And then afterwards, he's like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." And it's PTSD that I have from working with Chris, who is my best friend, one of my real good pals, and B, would get excited to produce this show throughout the week. Like when we would do Dirty Mike and the Boys, he would say, "Hey, here's an idea for a topic. Here's an idea for a segment. Here's some things we can do." And I'd say, "All right, let's fucking do it." And then we would get on air, and I would say, "Hey, Chris, how about that old segment idea you pitched us?" And he'd say, "I don't know what you mean." And I would say, "All right, I guess we can't do that this week then, because Chris isn't going to participate." It was very frustrating. I feel like me and DJ really carried the brunt of the talking.
No, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times he was over there too busy, like, messing around with everything to make the show actually go out, to actually pay attention to what we were saying.
Yeah, like playing Sudoku or crossword puzzles. He really paid a lot of attention.
Eating his sub from Subway. Or,
he would eat during the show, drink sometimes. It was a real...
None of that was ever going on in the studios of Westfield City University.
No, certainly not. So I guess I'll start with the culmination, how we got on air, Dirty Mike and the Boys. We were driving around one day, and I think Chris probably said, "Let's throw on the Westfield State channel just to see what it's like." And we threw on 89.5 WSKB, Westfield State. And a phenomenal show known as Meisner and Zelich was on the air. And these guys were radio gold. It was unbelievable. Almost as electric as this show, quite frankly. It was fan-fucking-tastic. And they were two guys that it seemed like they were friends, but they had no chemistry to speak of at all. One guy, it seemed like, didn't want to be there. Like, Meisner was a very old school. He had the radio voice, and he talked like this. And he wanted to be a sportscaster, and he would say, you know what? He was kind of like me. He would say, "Hey, Zelich, how about that segment we talked about?" And the other guy would go, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what you're talking about." So we were listening and said,
Meisner voice.
Both are spot on. And we were listening and said, like, well, why don't we do something like that? Like, if you can just host a talk show. And we thought you would have to go through all kinds of levels of background checks and auditions maybe and different things you'd have to do to get on the air. But a little tip for you people. Even if you don't go to the school, here's a tip. If it's, I mean, this is 7-8 years ago, but if this is still how things run, you can go to Ely Hall on the Westfield State campus, go to the front desk, and just say, "Hey, I'm supposed to be in the radio studio right now," and they'll go, "Oh, okay," and they'll give you a key, and then you can just do whatever you want. Essentially, like there were no, we cursed on air, we played.
Drank.
We tried not to.
I think the only time we drank was after when we came back for the Easter special. When we weren't really, it was just you, me, and Chris, Mike. I think.
Oh, okay.
No, there was quite a few other times.
Really? That I did?
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I just remember
I'm
bringing in little plastic bags.
I'm sure
and
you
shit.
did,
I don't
but
know.
It's definitely possible. What time were we on? Like 2 p.m?
2 to 4.
noon,
2 to 4
I think,
on
right?
Sundays, right?
2 to 4.
Wow, yeah.
And I think that was selected just because like we could go to the package store right afterwards.
No.
I just figured noon or 10 o'clock because a lot of times most people were just waking up when we would go over there.
Well, yeah. Well, one of the members who's not here with us was would wake up at about 1:59 and walk over there with us. So it was really there was a lot of plans.
Sometimes he would have to sprint from our apartment out and meet us halfway to the library.
There's, as you can imagine, with a blind mic production, there was a lot of prep work that went into it. But actually, we did. I mean, we always had topics and little things to get us through. So it was kind of
Friday
prepared.
night at 1:30 in the morning. We would all talk about what topics we want to get into.
There was some prep work, including the stuff that Chris would do and get very excited about, and then ignore once we got on there.
Sometimes I would do really horrific production. Make
Yes.
some one sheets.
What I loved before I move on from Meisner and Zelich, the thing I loved was that so they would do the show right before us, and John Meisner was our lead-in. And we would go in, and the first couple weeks it was Meisner and Zelich, and then eventually we started going in, and it was just Meisner. And he'd say, "Oh, you know, I had to do solo today. I don't know where Zelich is. I'm really disappointed in him, but I'm hoping he's back next week." And I heard that same speech like 6 weeks in a row, and then we stopped seeing Meisner.
Yeah, that's like one of the great mysteries. Wasn't one of them like out in the woods with his family?
There was
he ended up homeless or something.
Oh, I heard that. I didn't even know these people, but I heard you guys talking about some dude living in the woods. I don't know. Whole family fucking just lost it, went up there.
There were rumors that broadcasting legend John Meisner did end his show and just started living in the woods. It seems he was still in college, so I imagine that's not true, but that was a prevalent theory in those times.
Just like Dave Chappelle, he couldn't handle the fame and
That
decided
level
to
of
take a
just
sabbatical for a
pressure.
while.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And we were the Key and Peele of WSKB. We kind of filled in for him.
Yeah.
Let's not forget who our source was on that information.
Yes, excellent. Always leave it up to the Warthog to bring up someone that no one will understand the reference to.
Oh. It's
Wait, who? I didn't even hear. Who gave us that information?
Don't worry about it.
I'll tell you later.
This is going horribly in my mind. So I was out in Western Mass the other day, and I visited DJ, and DJ mentioned like, we should do a. I don't even know. You might have just been half joking, but like you said we should do a Dirty Mike and the Boys reading, and I said, because there's not a lot going on with the show, that makes perfect sense to do for a week on Mike and the Minifans. I'm now realizing it was a better idea than it was an actual production. Like no one is going to understand any of this. It's going to be a
well, I'm sure some of the more devout gearheads are going to be interested in the origin stories of how you came to be.
Well, let's hear some.
Other than that,
no
one cares about me, Chris, or Mike. But
what are some Mike Geary classics that maybe I've forgotten over the years?
Oh man, I've actually been wanting to tell this one. I'm like, I'll call in. I'm like, I don't want to waste my time.
Let's hear it. What is it?
No, yeah. So we're going up to Tommy's one night. For those who don't know, Tommy D's is the bar that we all went to Westfield State.
It's been to give you a little taste of what Westfield State is like. This bar is where we went every week, and it's now been shut down for multiple reasons. One being gang activity, and them starting a motorcycle in the bar while patrons were inside. So that's kind of the Westfield State vibe.
I don't think there were many patrons. I think what really happened, he brought it in as a last hurrah before going off to jail, actually.
Oh, good. Even better.
Yeah.
So we're at Tommy D's.
So, no. We're about to go. We have my Suburban, so we had 10, 12, I mean 8 people. They're the correct amount of people that are supposed to be in a Suburban, right? All ready to go. Mike goes, wait, hold on. I gotta run back in. I forgot my ID. And we're like, all right, I guess. I mean,
reasonable.
First of all, I work
my ID. How am I gonna get it?
I'm like, that's fine. So he runs all the way back. 10 minutes later, comes back to the Suburban. We get in, and I noticed a new scent. So I looked at him. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, you didn't forget your ID, did you? Yeah. No. Did you forget your ID, or you had to put cologne on? He changed his shirt, had to put cologne on, and change his hat. So he kept about 10 to 12 people waiting for another 10 to 15 minutes before going to the bar just to get cologne on.
I had to musk up. What if the ladies, if the ladies were out to prowl that night, the guy's got to be smelling right. That's the story you wanted to call into the show and tell? What would be the context?
Nope, because this is also the night, if you guys remember, that we had, shall we say, an incident at the end of the night with Mr. Michael falling asleep.
Explain.
So we had our favorite table in the back of the bar, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you vomited all over the table.
Did I?
Yeah.
I have no memory of this. No.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then afterwards, we were when we were cleaning up after work, you were passed out at the table, and we had all thought that you had gone home.
I don't remember that at all.
Good times.
I don't even remember us talking about that.
What?
I don't even remember us talking about that. Like, I've just blacked this moment out entirely.
Could have been blacked out.
Well, clearly.
Who forget?
You were famous at that time for the call the Italians.
Oh my God!
Late night, and then
big time.
By the time they come knocking, you're just out like a light. Didn't they put you on like
I'm pretty sure you had to have been
something?
blacklisted from pizza place.
There were a few. Oh, there were only a couple places. Bella Italia was the place in Westfield that was open till like 3 a.m. I think I ordered from there enough that I owed them a few, or they owed me a few. Like, I think I gave them such good business that they were like, well, we kind of need this guy to survive, which is true. When they're closed now. They've closed down after I left. So, but yeah, I would drunkenly order food at 2 a.m, hoping to get in under the wire before they close, and often falls. I'm a big. A lot of people probably wish I did this in Madawaska. I'm a big, once I am drunk and it's later in the night, I don't get too wild and crazy. I just fucking fall asleep.
Yeah, you get quiet. You're like a calm drunk. You're not like a...
Well, not always, but yeah.
For the most part. I wouldn't say calm. I would say comatose.
Yeah.
You get to the point where you're fine, and then you're just asleep.
See, I wish I did that for the Madawaska show. If I had just fallen asleep, I think things would have gone better than me drunkenly rambling into a microphone.
Oh God.
Maybe.
There were never any fights between us though on air, were there? For Dirty Mike and the boys?
Fights?
No, there were a couple times that
Big arguments?
No.
The
only big argument I can ever think
show up that were mad, but not between us.
The biggest argument that I can ever remember was between fucking unforced errors. No, sorry.
Unanswered runs.
Unanswered runs.
Yes, so
that was the most riveting argument that we had had.
So this might surprise people given the Warthog's temperament on this program, but there is the only fisticuffs that were ever thrown, at least from my end, in our group was me and the Warthog. Got into an altercation. It was spring weekend at Westfield State, and I think I wasn't drinking at the time for some reason. I was not drinking that weekend. I don't remember why. I was stone sober. And the Warthog, not so much. He was violently drunk. The Warthog used to put he would take big fountain drinks. How big? You know how many ounces those were, Chris?
It was like this.
Those were
But just Starbucks style.
32, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the big 30, like big gulp size
Big
cup.
Taco Bell soda thing.
Yeah, he would take those and fill them with what, Chris? If you don't refresh my memory.
Oh my!
All right. So it was
I
1/3
remember
Rubinoff, and then 2/3 Mountain Dew or like Hawaiian Punch. And then what you do is you take some Pixie Sticks, you pour those in there, kills the vodka taste, and you can just get belligerently drunk.
Oh, if anyone says I'm diabetic, like I've never drank, that would be in 2 seconds you would get diabetes, I would think. But also, for anyone that doesn't know, Rubinoff is some of the most disgusting stuff you can buy. Like that's what you would get in college to say because it was $10 a handle.
$13, yeah.
That's what the guy standing on the corner right now begging for change is going to the store to buy. Let's put it.
So Chris, that's just drinking
above or below Mr. Boston. Who knows?
So the Warthog, after drinking this fucking Molotov cocktail, would get pretty belligerent, like much louder, and it was completely like out of character for him. The opposite of the guy that sits before you. So
Just screaming, "Fuck you!"
Jekyll and Hyde.
So it's like early afternoon on spring weekend. Spring weekend was a time at Westfield where you had like concerts and shit going on. Like it was just an all day. Like you'd start drinking at noon or whatever. Again, I did not, and we had a few people over, and I think I was still 20 at the time, and everyone else in the apartment was 21. So because of that, our apartment would have gotten fucked if we got caught drinking.
Yeah, because we got nailed like 3 weeks before that.
Right. So I was trying to keep the peace. I was trying to not get everyone in trouble, and maybe that's why I wasn't drinking, in fact. But the Warthog didn't abide by these rules, and we were watching a Red Sox-Yankees game, and a few people were over, a few of the boys were over, and I think I made reference to the fact that the Red Sox scored, let's say, 8 unanswered runs. And this asshole starts yelling at me, saying, "They're not unanswered runs, they're answered runs." And I said, "I don't know what the fuck that means. Like, that doesn't make any sense." And he said, "Unanswered runs come first. But if they come second, they're answered runs. They're answering the question of how many runs you score." It's like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So, but I don't care about this argument. Like, I'm like, okay, you're wrong, but whatever. And Chris says, "Oh, fuck you. They're unanswered runs." And he's yelling at me. And eventually he got to the point where now he's disrespected my honor. And no one's going to call me out in front of the boys. You guys know. So
boys, no.
so Chris goes, he's yelling at me, and I said, "Chris, if you yell again, I'm gonna punch you in the fucking face." And I'm not a tough guy at all. I was just at my wit's end. And he looks at me and goes, "Fuck you." so I was like, well, I have no choice. He's left me with no choice. He's left me with my dick in my hand here. So I was like, all right. And I get up and charge at him, and he comes flying at me like a fucking like a spider monkey. And our buddy Matt gets in the middle of us, and I throw a punch and hit Matt in the face. My vision is not so good. And Chris tackles Matt. But basically Matt took the brunt. Chris and I are so uncoordinated that Matt's the only person who got in a fight in this fucking melee.
You both attacked another friend together. You teamed up.
Yeah.
That's how you made up.
I think that's the only physical altercation I got in college. Am I wrong about that? Am I misremembering anything?
I think you're right.
No, but the first night, you did not like me too much right off the bat.
The first night I met you?
Yeah, the first night in our apartment, not the first night we met.
Really?
The first night in our apartment. Yeah, because I mean, we maybe met once or twice before that, not even.
Mhm.
And just Chris told us, yeah, he's good. Like, okay, perfect. Put him on the department roster. So first night back at Westfield, hey, anybody want a beer? You're like, yeah, I'll take one. So I went and grabbed a beer and tossed it across the apartment and smashed you in the face. You were blind.
I do remember that.
I can't see. I was like, what? Holy shit, dude. Like, all right, calm down. I'm sorry. Like, I thought you were looking at me when I threw the beer. You're like, no, I'm fucking legally blind. I already told you that. I was like, oh shit, yeah. All right. I'm sorry. And you were very angry for,
Really? I'm surprised I would get that mad about that. I mean, I guess if it hit me in the face, that's why I would be.
Yeah. Oh no, I fucking killed you in the face.
Also, you had the same interaction with me that a lot of people do, and I'm curious, like how often this happens just in life. That you guys, so we were gonna become roommates. Like I only met you guys a couple times, but we were all moving to the same apartment because I knew the warthog, and so I met you a couple times to sign the paperwork and all that type of shit. And then, if I'm remembering correctly, DJ, you guys saw me on campus once and waved at me, and I just
not even. So we were walking to the dining hall. You were walking back from maybe 2-3 feet of distance, and we're like, oh hey, and you just kept walking. They didn't even give us the time of day. And we're like, what the hell, man? We literally just met this dude. We're gonna be living with him next year, and he would fucking say hi to us. We're like, okay.
I wonder how often that's happened throughout my life. Probably a lot.
Well,
did
you
know?
At least one other time.
What's that?
When we were out in Boston, we were going into the Harp, and they almost didn't let you in because they thought you were too drunk.
Oh, that happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, it happens to me so much that I think for this, I was used to this from going to bars when I was underage. Like I would still go when I was 20 and just use someone else's ID or something. So when I turned 21, I was genuinely too shit-faced to get in the bar, and I think it was because that's the only I tried. Let's see. I think I did Molly twice in my life, both in college, and this was the first time I did it. So I'd taken Molly for the first time ever, and I had walked in the bar on my 21st birthday, and my big fear was not being drunk. It was that they wouldn't notice that today was August 31st, and I would have to correct them. I'm like, hey, it's my birthday. So I walk in, hand the guy my ID, and fucking just brush by him and hit him with my shoulder by accident. And the guy, and my eyes are all fucked up, obviously, and I just look shit-faced. And the guy goes, yeah, all right, buddy. You're not coming in. And I go, no. Check it again. I thought I had him. I was like, no, obviously this fool doesn't know the date. He's like, I don't give a fuck what day it is. Get the fuck out of this bar.
What, did you just turn 21?
It was my 21st birthday, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
I
thought that was I was like, sir, obviously.
Certainly the fact that I'm on Molly, that doesn't mean anything, right?
It can't be it. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
back. What's that?
No, I was just gonna say the same one in Boston, but the guy. Yeah, I think you were actually completely sober. The one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so it does happen to be sober as well.
Yeah, and same thing. You're kind of brushed by, like, hey, easy, buddy. Like, you can't come in. You're too drunk. And you're like, I don't drink anything, and you're as coherent could be. And the guy wanted to argue with you about that too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, buddy. Like, get out of line, bucko. And you're like, I'm legally blind. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Like, I'm sorry. That's all that happened.
When I'm sober, it's easier because I can throw out all the terms. I'll say, oh, actually, no, I was diagnosed with Stargardt's, which is a form of macular degeneration. As a matter of fact, if you're really interested, it may have been misdiagnosed, and I actually have retinal pigmentosis. And they're like, all right, well, okay. But when I'm drunk, I'm like, these things don't work no good.
I can't fucking see, all right, good?
No, buddy. Check the ID again. I am 21.
Fucking...
You piece of shit. Back to Dirty Mike and the Boys' memories. I think Mike. I think Mike was there for the only wacky radio stunt that we ever attempted. But it wasn't really. Do you know what I'm talking about, Mike? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I don't. I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna remember, but
I think it was just you, me, and Chris that day. And I believe it was Easter. I think it was Easter weekend.
okay.
And there was shut that fucking baby up. I think it was Easter weekend, and this is my show. God damn it! Easter weekend, and we just did a regular show where we just talked about the topics we would usually talk about. But the only difference is that the Warthog, while we were on air, and I don't even know if
were these like the little things he was eating.
Yes.
What are they called again?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So because it was Easter weekend, the Warthog just wanted to see how many peeps he could eat during the radio show, and there was no payoff. Like, we acknowledged that it was happening, but there was no like bit to it. There was no if he got a certain amount, something happened. There's no consequence or anything. He was just eating peeps, and then during the commercial break, he got up and just vomited, and you had it on video, and it was an array. It started off pink, and then it was yellow, and then it turned into vomit green by the end.
No.
A dizzying array of colors.
Chris, did you come up with that idea for yourself? Because like that was like a one-time we came back and did a little something. It's not like we had been going every week and said, next week we're gonna do it. We just kind of showed up and said, look at this,
Yeah, so I think what happened was like they were on sale at Walmart, so I just bought a bunch and in preparation for this.
How could you pass
So just
it
to see how many I could eat. And the total was 34.
Unbelievable. Are you proud of that number?
I'm not ashamed.
I like that Mike's inside the actor's studio question is, now, Chris, did you think of that yourself? How did we get to this brilliant idea?
Now, when you walked by the peeps, did you instantly know this will be a hit? Or was it something that you learned later? Come on, proceed.
Well, I got to say, all of our ratings tactics did pay off. Because apparently we were the highest rated. We quadrupled our competition. Now, I believe looking back, that has to be bullshit. They did not know how many people listened to that station. But I remember them telling that to me, and I was like, that's fucking awesome, man. I was like, guys, we are doing great. We are setting this campus on fire. You know how no one has ever acknowledged that we do a radio show? Well, apparently it's just because they're jealous.
Yeah.
Because everyone's listening.
To be fair, we knew of at least 10 people that listened.
Yeah. I think we were in double digits for sure.
Problem is it was all of our friends that literally listened to everything that we talked about on the show, literally at the bar the night before. But hey,
yeah, they were just basically listening to our show was just being in our apartment for an extra 2 hours a weekend.
Yep. Basically.
But the reason I found out those numbers is because of our big controversy. I assume you guys remember this. The big Dirty Mike and the Boys was thrown off the air because we were too hot for WSKB, baby. Too hot for Westfield Radio. So
was that when the girls
advertisers were pulling their support? It was
yes, it was massive stories. So as I recall, I think the Warthog will have to fill in some of the details for me.
Okay.
But as I recall, we were just having a regular conversation, and a friend, Kylie, texted in with some sort of information. And I think you mentioned that, Chris. And you said, Kylie has some information for us. And I said, what does that broad want? I believe that was the comment. Am I right or wrong?
If it wasn't that, it was that benign. It was a nothing statement.
Right. So so later on in the show, I'm doing the show, and the Warthog, DJ, and our other co-host, Matt, were looking back. There was panic in the studio. And as a professional broadcaster, I was trying to remain calm and continue with my, I'm sure, very cogent and relevant points. The same 6 racial points I've been making for the last 10 years. Political correctness. Can you believe it, folks? Unbelievable. So I'm sure I was doing that. But I was like, out of the sides of my eyes going, what the fuck is going on? So we took a break, and there was a girl outside the studio just giving us the finger. Very, very edgy. Hey, fuck you. So I'm like, what is this about? So,
which honestly is more offensive than what you said.
Yes,
Well,
very, I was very hurt.
Really flipping somebody off is probably more offensive than what you said.
Well, it's mean, first of all, and
It hurt our feelings.
I think we just came. I don't think we even went outside right away. I think we just came back and finished the show. Because again, folks, we are professionals. And then when we left the studio, like a half hour later, so she stayed. This girl was committed. She stayed out there and accosted us in the hallway. And I was like, fuck, did we? I thought that this girl worked for the radio station. Radio station was student run. There was an administrator, like technically in charge of it, but he was fucking out. He didn't know anything existed on that radio
He
station.
didn't even know the radio station was real. He thought it was all made up.
Well, side note.
Pretend.
Side note. So if you went to the radio station's website at that time, it was that they announced that they were going to build a studio off campus and have a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week network that was student-run, and there would be live programming, talk shows, music shows, everything anyone wanted. And I was like, wow, that's going to be, as a guy who wanted to get into radio, that's going to be really cool. And then I realized that the website hadn't been updated in like 7 years, and it was just a lie. They never planned on doing that.
Well, it was 24/7. It was just some really shitty, basic iTunes playlist that just played.
Yeah, it was technically on, but and they wouldn't allow you to play. It was all like hipster run. We were the bad boys of the station, and believe me, folks, that's important as we go through the story here. We were way too edgy for WSKB. The music was all like this kind of hipster bullshit that you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
And there was like a sign that said, "Don't stray from this playlist," because it was that's what it had to be. They were cool. They were cooler than mainstream music. So this girl that like kind of helped run the station and everything, she's waiting outside for us, and she's like, "Who the fuck do you guys think you are?" And I was like, "We're Dirty Mike and the Boys."
I thought it was a joke at
Dance behind
first.
you.
Yeah. I was like, "Who do you think we are? We are WSKB."
Remember the name.
No, but I was honestly, and anyone watching this show knows I'm not very confident, so I was very nervous. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And I was nervous that we cursed on air or did something that could like legitimately actually get the school in trouble, probably. So she said, "Do you know how offensive that is to women?" And I was like, "How offensive? What are we talking about?" And she goes, "That's what you call women?" And I was like, "What?" She said, "The word broads." I was like, "Oh, that? Did we say that?" And she was like, "Yes." I was like, "Oh, that's what you're mad about? Like, go fuck yourself." Like, what was that? Chris, do you remember better than me what the interaction was? Because I think that was kind of the tone.
So, all right. She didn't take kindly to us saying broad, but what really set her off was when we read a letter to the editor that she wrote about like.
I'll get there. I'll get there.
Okay.
That's way after this. I just mean that immediate interaction.
No. We read one that she wrote. That was what set her off.
That day?
Because it was about.
Wait a minute. That is right. He's right.
Whatever it was, not important. So she flips us off. It's like 15 minutes after that we leave, and then like you like she yells at you, and you're just like, what are you talking about? So you go through that, and then do you remember how you basically shut her down?
Yes, I do. So she was berating me for being such a pig on air. And I was like, "Yeah, okay." I was like, "I'm sorry that it bothered you, but I was like, I'm sorry that it bothered you, but just fuck off, basically, in somewhat nicer terms. And she said, and how about you make eye contact with me when you're talking to me? And I said, well, actually, I'm legally blind, so sorry. And then I think she felt a little bad. But because you're torn in that moment between being this social justice warrior and you just insulted a blind man. So I think that was a tough moment for her. But Chris, the Warthog, really took a victory lap in our response to her. So we get suspended from the radio station, and we were suspended until the results of their investigation were found.
Jesus.
Because there's no audio log for the radio station. Like, they can't go back and find anything we said. So there's no proof that we actually even said anything. It's just her word versus ours. And they were going to have an investigation. And then they were going to call me into a meeting. So in the meantime, the Warthog wrote a letter to the Westfield Voice, which was the paper of record at Westfield State. And it was, a long, rather poetic statement about, cancel culture, really, before it was even really a thing. And I really enjoyed the last line, Warthog, if you remember.
That's right.
I meant say
it. It was, you take responsibility. Oh. That's what I was doing. Then you cut me off. So it was, we take responsibility for our words. Perhaps others can do the same.
Very nice. A real, it may seem somewhat mild until we found out that she was spotted in the communications building ranting to some poor soul about this. Just like, these assholes got into our paper. This was a turf war. I don't think you guys understand. You guys might be laughing at me at home saying, oh, Mike, caring so much. This was a real turf war. This was the big leagues back at WSKB. And I remember having to go and sit in a meeting at the administrator's office where they told me, I wonder if this was an empty threat or they would have actually tried to go through with it. Because this was like a year or two before things really got crazy with like word policing and shit like that. But they did tell me that I would be kicked off campus on the grounds of harassment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Until I pointed out that there was no proof of what I said or that I actually said it. Then they were kind of like, I guess you're right.
Damn.
So that was kind of. Am I missing anything else in the history of Dirty Mike and the Boys?
What was
I think those were? Oh, no, go ahead.
What were the circumstances that led to that girl, like a friend of a friend, calling in? Do you remember that?
I don't remember. You brought that up in our group chat. I got into a real on-air battle with a caller.
Yeah.
A real war of words. Some real heavy insults thrown around. The Warthog might remember better than me. I have zero memory of why that started.
So I remember it happening. I just remember like her yelling like, "You busted."
Yeah, she called me busted.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. I think like you said, it was like because I didn't hook up with you or something. It was something to that effect.
That's surprising. There are a lot of things about me in college that you're telling me here that I'm surprised I was like that. I've really, as much as I don't think I've grown up, I really have in some ways. Any other blind Mike stories you guys wanted to get off your chest before we wrap here?
Well, I don't know how deep and dark you want to get, but
I'm cool with whatever.
I'm sure we can dig up some good ones.
Well, my point was we don't have a lot of time for that, so spit them out now.
No.
All right.
Not
Well,
really.
Boy.
Well, there's the one time that you had a nice movie night with a female co.
I'll tell that. That's a good way to end, DJ.
That's a good one.
I'll tell that story. So I was over a lady's apartment one night, and
consensually,
of course, and So if I remember right, we were watching a movie. It was me and her and another couple, or the roommate was in the room or something. So we couldn't get too crazy. Although she did jerk me off under the blanket. And then, those times old Mikey was not too sexually active, so a quick jerk, very easy for me to come. As long as it's not my hand at the other end, I was coming all over the place. So I came, but there wasn't a tool to wipe up the mess. So I said, I just handed her something, and we used what turned out to be my sweatpants. And so I walked back, and I'm in the apartment. Me and the boys are talking. I'm telling them of my conquest, and then we move on to other topics. And our buddy Matt points to my pants and says, "What is that?" I said, I was mildly embarrassed, but not really, because I guess it didn't occur to me what had happened. And I'd said, it's a cum stain. Pretty cool, right, guys? And he was like, "So you walked back here in cum-soaked pants and then sat down with us and had a conversation?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess when you put it in terms, that's exactly what's happening." And he was like, Go change. Get the fuck out of here." So that's all here from the folks at Dirty Mike and the Boys. Guys, thank you for coming on for this Dirty Mike and the Boys reunion.